Good day, folks. Hey, this is Dr. Terry and Tom from the Metaphysical Mysteries podcast. Have a fantastic guest here with us today, Gary Wimmer, born in the beautiful state of New Jersey. Well, some would say so, but he moved to a more beautiful state in Texas, I guess, down in Austin, which I just came through there the other day. So, pretty area. And Gary is an author. He has got a couple of books there you can see in the background. Uh, Lithomancy, which people don't know what that is probably, and then a second in eternity because he's a near-death experiencer. So we're going to talk about that with a background in electrical engineering and in music, film, and other things. Child of the '60s, and we're just really happy to have you here, Gary. And tell us a little bit about how you came to be in this whole psychic world that we're going to talk about.
Well, I was the third of seven sons. I was a Catholic. I was an altar boy. Had a lot of curiosity about God and Jesus and the truth. But of course, when puberty hit, I went, I don't know about the Catholic Church. I never lost interest in God or knowing the truth. I wanted to know the rules. We're going to be judged by the rules. We should know the rules, right?
Right.
So I started asking questions real early. Like Tom, got an electrical engineering degree. He used his. I served 2 years as a conscientious objector from 70 to 72 here in Austin at the Austin State School for mentally challenged kids. Uh, Met a lot of autistic savants. That was quite an interesting experience. I got out and started playing music professionally and traveling all over and then giving readings. I started giving readings with a regular deck of playing cards back in 1970, 71, 72 in that area. Um, in 1977, sort of out of the clear blue, I was traveling with a band and decided I need some time off the road. And this was this is January 31st, 1977. And I had been feeling weird that whole day, like something strange is happening. Went in that night to our duplex where my roommates were, told them, I was leaving the band and here's my gear. And we sat down. And then I started picking up what everybody was thinking. And that kind of blew my mind. I didn't say much about it. Tried to sleep that night, couldn't sleep. Woke up in the morning. Well, I got up. My roommate's walking through reading the newspaper, and I saw the headlines through his eyes. And whoa, there's an article about Jimmy Carter. He threw it on the table. I was mesmerized. Well, he started noticing I started picking up all kinds of stuff. He was very concerned. We went to a bar that night, and every time someone would pass, I could feel their whole life. I could see people coming through the door before they'd come through the door, because as we had entered the club about an hour early, right before I entered the door, I felt this premonition right outside the door. Blew it off because everything was a premonition at this point.
Sure.
Uh, Later, I sat down at the bar. The band was too loud, and I had this feeling to go walk outside. And I'm standing outside, right where I was, had that premonition, and people walked right through me. And it freaked me out. Opened my eyes. I'm still in the bar stool with the door open, and they walked through dressed exactly as I'd seen them. My roommate came in. I described this to him. I predicted two groups of people. He thought I'd been outside. I said, ask him. I've been right here for 30 minutes. This started happening. My clairvoyance, my psychic abilities started picking up to the point by the second, third day, and I wasn't sleeping. I was awake all night. I was thinking. I was seeing the interface between the physical and the non-physical. By looking at my wall, I could get right into the quantum physics level, and I started realizing that's the interface between the non-physical and the physical. It's the smallest of the small. I started having all these observations. I got to pick up so much information that there was no neutral, and I started having to externalize it. I'd look at a stranger 3 blocks away and, think, open that car door, and he would. And I thought, did I make that happen? Or did I know that guy was going to do that and pick that up? And in either case, it was bizarre, especially if I had an influence on it. And I couldn't tell the difference between witness and creator at this point. And it was haunting. I never got so paranoid and terrified in my life. At the same time, I never felt so empowered. but it was not normal life. By the second and third day, it just exploded. Go ahead. You're going to ask something, Terry?
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you credit this awakening? I'm going to call it that. What do you credit that happening?
Well, that's part of the story, and I will
Okay,
continue, and we'll get to that because
okay, good.
the book I wrote, A Second Eternity, it's got 250 pages of all these bizarre incidents I went through. And I'll give you another one. I've used this a lot. It's I couldn't turn this off. So I was either picking stuff up or injecting stuff, and then I couldn't tell if I was witnessing creator, and I couldn't just think, if I wasn't going through this, what would I normally be doing? Because I was going through it. I
Yes.
couldn't turn it off. I had no idea where the switch was or why. So I had no choice but to go along with it. And another example, my friend and I were sitting in a restaurant here in Austin, and he's very concerned. What's it? What are you going through now? I said, man, I'll explain it. I'll show you. It's too hard to explain it. And I looked at two ladies way in the far of the restaurant and asked him if he knew him. Nope, I don't think so. And I said, well, I'm going to have the brunette write me a letter. What? He went ahead and kept eating. I kept eating too, but I kept thinking, brunette, I'm the guy over here in the red shirt or whatever it was at the time. Come write me a letter. Harmless, come write me a letter. And so about 10 minutes later, they walked by, and one lady walked by, and then the brunette, and she threw down a napkin that she had written on in big, bold letters with a big black marker. Why are you doing this to me? Now, that totally freaked me and my roommate out. And I wanted to run outside and ask her what she experienced. It just
Right.
blew my mind. How did you? Things like that kept happening. I couldn't turn them off. And all this time, I started feeling some sort of presence, some sort of spirituality, protection, guardian angels. And at one time, either I called them the monitors or they suggested, let's go by the monitors because they were real. Now, I couldn't see them, but I could feel them. And to be honest with you, that's about the only thing that gave me any sanity during this period. Feeling like something is watching me, something is, because I don't know what's going on. Long story short, and it's a pretty interesting 1 week I went through, so many bizarre incidents. But at the end of that week, and I was racing down Guadalupe Street here in Austin, Texas. I was terrified. I couldn't turn it off. I was too much, too much. I was crying, and people were stopping in the street and looking at me on the sidewalk, a big circle around me. And I finally stopped. I almost wanted to tell them to back away because I might explode.
Yeah.
uh, In the most utmost fear of my life, all of a sudden I felt intensely warm, and I look up and there's this huge spotlight about 6 feet above me, shining down on me. And I looked around, and none of these people who'd been big circle around me acknowledged it. Oh, I don't care. I looked up, and then I saw these 7 monitors with their hands down, and it was a crystal table about that thick. As I say, it wasn't that thick, wasn't that thick. Everything it was physical. I thought if I had a ladder, I could touch the darn thing. In fact, that was one of my first thoughts. Wow, that's right above me. These people don't see it. Anyway, about that time, they said, do you trust us? In one deep, low tone, James Earl James Jones style voice. I said, man, I've been freaking out. I'm going through all the other. Shh. Do you trust us? And after a second, I thought, whatever, they obviously know what's going on. So yeah, I trust you. Long story short, within just a second or two, I was hit head on by a speeding car. I was outside my body, and I watched my body get tumbled over by the car. And then all of a sudden, the whole city of Austin's a little dot, and I had no idea who I was. And I was expanding outward like the surface of a balloon. In fact, instantly when I was outside the car, I realized, wow, I'm expanding, you know,
Right.
and getting bigger and bigger, and things are going inside me, and I had no awareness of myself, just pure, beautiful sensation. And it was beautiful. And I was speeding to the edge of the universe. Okay, the edge of the universe may or may not exist on physical terms, but I got outside of it and I went through this realm of consciousness called the colors. they're suggested that, and that is a realm of consciousness that when we collapse in at birth, because that's how we come to mama, we collapse in from all directions of the universe into the, you know, birth canal or whatever. I realized that that's the way we leave and that's the way we come back, and that's it's pulsating. But I had no idea it was me. All it was sensation, and it. I realized I came out of this universe, and it was like one star in a multi-starred sky. There's billions of universes, unlimited.
Yeah.
That's
You
the
know,
one I came out of. Go ahead.
that's that. I was going to say that is pretty consistent with how others also describe the other side, so to speak,
Mhm,
compressing down and then expansion upon release from the meat suit, so to speak. And
mhm.
even those that do astral travel or out of body experiences, similar, very similar stuff. So I think that's all pretty consistent. So for the listener, you're not talking anything wackadoodle. This has all been documented by science as a pretty consistent behavior given a near death experience. So, did you get a chance to compare this with other near death experiencers or any research that you did?
After this, after because I didn't even know the term at the time. I didn't know
Right.
what I'd gone through. I just knew that it was weird and bizarre. But when I went through this big, when I left my body and left the universe, all these stars, all these universes wrapped up to a big tunnel of light. And that's a good description because it actually felt like that.
Yeah.
Silver and white clouds spinning around and me going through it like a clown at a circus. you
Right.
know? But it was pure ecstasy. I had no idea who I was or the me or earth or creation, but it was the most beautiful sensation. I came out the other side and I landed in this infinite sky blue mind of God. And A, it was infinite, is infinite. Nothing started it, nothing can end it. And there was two possibilities. Either it existed, which it does, and everything is possible, or it wouldn't exist and nothing would exist. There's nothing in between.
How would
And
you
that
how would you describe? You said God. How would you describe God if somebody just asked you?
infinite mind, first cause, uncaused, unbiased, completely unbiased. Humans are biased,
Right.
not infinite mind. It gives, and everything we see and experience, every molecule, every atom, every thought, every galaxy, when it comes down to it, it's nothing more than infinite mind imagining itself in infinite possibilities
Yeah.
with no bias. So everything will eventually happen that can or will in some infinite universe. So yeah, I believe in infinite universes, infinite time, infinite possibilities, all unbiased. And while
So
go ahead.
let me ask you: Are you feeling a little more validated that science is now catching up to what you're describing? I mean, as
Absolutely.
yeah,
In
because you had
fact,
to
what
go.
you,
Yeah, you had to go through years where you didn't know if
yeah,
it was nuts or what, and but now science is the projection of consciousness. We're living
thank
through
you.
it, that kind of stuff. The multitudes of universe, that is something that we are wrapping our heads around from a scientific point of view. So
Oh,
that
absolutely.
has to feel
Absolutely.
good.
Is there multi-universes? Yeah, there's infinite possibilities in all directions. We're just stuck in a certain body in a certain time with certain genes in a certain universe in this galaxy and this planet. But yeah, there's infinite possibilities, and I'm at one with this infinite mind, and I realize, wow, it's infinite creativity. And
Yeah.
it felt like I was there for eternity. That's why I said I named my book in eternity, because I had no awareness of Earth or time or space. Then I started realizing I'm observing this, and I was pulled back from it. And I went back through this tunnel of light and back into this universe. And I had no idea who I was or where I was going, but I certainly liked where I was.
Yeah.
I use the term spiritual gravity in my book because it felt like that. It was pulling me back to, even though I had no idea who I was. And then I entered this universe and got closer to this solar system and this galaxy and solar system. Closer I got to Earth, the more I felt like, well, I've got some relationship here. Maybe I know someone here. But again, I'm collapsing in. And right before I jumped back into my body, I saw three series of pictures, very distinct. One of them, they're like thousands of flashcards, spinning newspapers, zoom, zoom, zoom. And I saw 9/11, COVID, all these wars, banking problems. I see what we're going through now. I saw the next 100 years in the future, and it is challenging, but we're getting to see all the flaws in ourselves and in our systems so we can fix them. You can't fix a flaw or a leak in the pipe if you don't believe in them or if you don't see them. So we're getting
Yeah,
life's giving you and me and the whole planet an education. Here's what's wrong. Then I
absolutely.
saw the other side of this, which is the age of Aquarius, which is beautiful. There's peace and there's happiness, and it ain't 2 days away, or it doesn't have a specific date. We're
Right.
moving into the age of Aquarius, and it's a 2,300-year period. So there's a 100-year transition, and we're
Yeah.
right in the middle of it. Then that was optimistic, seeing the future. Then I saw these pictures of a musician and a psychic. I thought, who's this guy? And then I saw my body. And I thought, well, that's me. I jumped back into my body. Well, people were screaming and hollering and freaking out, a circle around me, and the driver was hovering over me, shaking me, terrified. Man, I just been to heaven and back. I didn't feel any pain. I looked up, the whole car's banged in, the windshield's broken, people are screaming and hollering. Me, I just went to heaven. And I stood up and started trying to ask people, did y'all see this, light with the monitor? Boy, that didn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. I probably thought you were stoned.
Oh, absolutely. And I thought, man, I think I'll just walk home. This is too heavy. I
Yeah.
can't deal with this. None of these people. When I started walking, they said, wait, 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 come on, the cops, the ambulance coming. You just explain it to them and go home. And I thought, yeah, I'll do that. Well, cops and ambulance came and they're looking all around for a body in the street. And I'm talking to the crowd, and they're kind of staying away from me. And I said, I'm the guy you're looking for. And how are you standing? I said, just like you guys. I didn't feel a thing. Didn't get a scratch. Wanted to go home. Cops asked me what happened. The medics asked me what happened. They're interviewing the witnesses who basically said this guy was out there talking. He was crying 1 second and then smiling, laughing the next, and then talking to something and hit by this car. And he gets up like nothing happened. But I started believing in miracles instantaneously. I knew that I had been hit by that car and I didn't get a scratch. And I believe in miracles because not only that, but where I went and back in the interim of 1, 2 seconds of Earth time.
Right.
So, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't have believed me. I tried to kind of explain to the cops and police and medics, and can I just go home? I ain't hurt. Nope. They took me to the hospital, x-rayed me, checked me out. Can I go home now? Nope. They sent a guy in, and he was a psychiatrist, and I knew his name and about his family and everything. It blew his mind. Have I ever met you? I said, no, I can pick up just about anything right now. And told him about him and his wife and him and his kid moving their furniture around last week and her not being too pleased with it. And how'd you know that? I said, Doc, right now I can know everything. Can I just go home? And he said, no, we can't let you. You said, this is too bizarre. You have to go to a psychiatric hospital. And I didn't care. You can take me anywhere, man. I've been to heaven and back. You think that's going to bother me?
Yeah.
Let the
I don't think,
show
I don't
go
think,
on.
I don't think modern psychology is really ready for what can actually occur as it relates to metaphysical interactions with the other side. Tom, you're a clinician. What would you do if you came across a situation like this?
What I would do is I'd have a hell of a conversation with you. My
Yeah.
colleagues would probably want to section you. Commitment.
Yeah.
Well, they did at the end of, I was committed to Shoal Creek Hospital, and within a day or two, I was called Mr. Smiles. I was playing music, I was entertaining. They had all these girls in there that were 16 that were having sex, and their parents put them in a psychiatric hospital instead of talking about sex to them. Come on, you know?
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was there, and after 10 days, they brought me for a board of psychiatrists and floor workers, and they asked, they interviewed me. And I said, I ain't changed my story.
Right.
Here's what happened. You guys psychiatrists, you ought to be asking me questions. You ought to be curious about this.
Exactly.
But I ain't changing my story. If you want to lock me up forever, I can't change my story. This is what happened. You
Yep.
explain it to me.
Right.
How could you get hit by a car and not get a scratch? You come up with a better explanation?
So after the this incident and your, I'll call it psychic expansion, what kind of psychic, I'll call it readings, would you do, or and then again, what do you do now, many years later?
Well, I started giving psychic readings in 1971 or 2 when I moved to Austin, as I served as a conscience objector here. Uh, in 1980, I met a very gifted psychic named Alice Worrell, and she did a reading by lithomancy, by this stone method, and I was fascinated by it. Not only was she right on target, but I'd never seen anything like this. And so she had a class. In 2 weeks, I showed up, pouring rain, just me and her. She gave me herself a reading in about 10 minutes. We wanted to get out of Dodge before we got flooded. Next day, I got 16 stones and put markers on them. And what this system is, I use 16 stones. 10 of them are planets: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And the other 6 are personal stones: love, life, luck, commitment, timing, and place. And I do them over the phone now because I don't, I'm disabled. It's hard for me to get around. I don't do psychic fairs anymore.
Right.
So when I do them over the phone, I charge up to 16 stones and have the client say drop, and I drop them into this thin circle of leather that represents the clock. I start reading the pattern from the center to 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, around for 12 weeks. If stones land outside the circle, they can represent things in beyond the environment or in future time, or both. And it's a very intuitive thing. That's why I liked it immediately. Didn't have to remember all these tarot cards.
Right.
In fact, I got into reading in 1970. I bought a book, it's probably behind me, $7 book, Psychic Sciences, and I read one chapter on how to read a regular deck of playing cards. Close enough for me, close enough to rock and roll. Because if you want to learn these signs, you can read anything.
Yeah,
You really
because
can.
really what these are, if you look at somebody like Bashar, I don't know if you listen to him or not, but they would consider these permission slips, so to speak, to access. Because I've always told people, as it relates to stones or crystals or whatever, any kind of ritualistic tool, that it's really your personal mechanism to release your psychic ability. I mean, you could probably do it without, but if people feel good doing that, it helps them focus their mind. Then they do it and they get really good at it. And so that's the way I've always seen these different tools. Now, the idea of the lithomancy is something that we haven't really addressed at all on the podcast. So reading stones, my only experience I had with that was it's a lady in Florida that read me. It was kind of an interesting situation because she would use runes, so like Viking type stuff, that, and so she would take a little bag, and she had them for like 20 years, the same set, and she'd throw them out, and they would have, or pick three, depends on what she was doing, but and so she was doing that with me, and she set these down, and all of a sudden, she said it was my energy that did it, but snapped one of those stones in half, just snap like that. And she goes, I've had that stone 20 years. You can't snap it in half. I said, well, why not? So, and it was, and then I said, well, go ahead and read what you got. So she did. She read the story, which was absolutely accurate. And then when it came to the broken, it was a traveling stone or something, that there would be a broken traveling thing, which was absolutely what happened. I won't get into all the details. So I found that pretty fascinating at that point. And there was other weird stuff that happened that day, fascinating stuff, but it opened up an energy channel clearly that allowed me to interact and her to go, holy crap, I've never seen this before. Have you had anything like that with the stones? Any weird stuff that has occurred?
I've had a lot of psychic experience in my life. A couple of them were very unsubtle, like my near-death experiences.
Yeah,
But most of the time, they're pretty subtle, like when I read stones.
yeah,
And before I do a reading, because intentions and attitudes and perspective matter, I always meditate. I always ask my guide to help me. I don't want to screw up somebody's life. I use a regular deck of playing cards and shift them around and have a bizarre, eccentric way of reading. But it works for me. You
yeah.
know, whatever works, you can read anything. I realized that during that week of escalating psychic ability, because I would have a question in my mind and I'd look down the street and there'd be some bicycle rider with both hands up, like, well, on one hand, I want a question of balance.
That's
Everything I was thinking in that period was having some symbolism, and that's what, and I realized that's still the case. That's true. You can read, well, let me just put it this way: any part, any time and space, any soul, any point in time and space can serve as a port to infinite mind. Does it most of the time? No, most people don't even think that way or believe that. And
right.
I wouldn't have had I not experienced it. But now I know that we're all connected to infinite mind, and we can take leaps by choice, by practice, and certainly by what happened to me that seemed like at the time a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in accidents. I believe in one thing: cause and effect.
Yep,
Something makes everything happening. And
sure.
months after I had this experience, I asked my guides, because I kept asking them, thank you for the voyage so much, but why me? Why'd y'all pick me? What did I do? And finally, after 8, 9 months, they revealed to me, because you always wanted to know. You could handle the truth. You're curious. You're an altar boy. You're a psychic. I got 6 brothers. None of them are into this. They're all businessmen, you know, and good. But I've been an artist, musician, writer, actor, eccentric, weirdo. Uh, so yeah, they said very clearly. In fact, they were sitting outside my porch. I was out there playing guitar. I didn't see them this time. I only saw them once, but I felt them. And they shot this message into my head. Time stopped, traffic stopped, the wind stopped, and they basically said what I said. You got this because you wanted to know. And you're pretty extreme and you're pretty intense. You got to watch your diet. You got to watch your balance. You got to, you know, but
What do you
average Joes get less opportunity to expand than people who work on it and curious and want to know.
right,
Intentions are everything.
that's true. Right now we're having, it seems like an influx of people that are being the switch flipped
Mm-hmm.
on. I always said it happened, basically starting at the 2012, December 21st, when the new age arrived, so to speak. Some people were
Mm-hmm.
before that getting ready to assist and mentor. And since that time, it's been flipping on. It seems like we're getting more and more kids coming through with,
Mm-hmm.
with skill sets that you and I would have thought were bizarre back in the day. So why do you think that is?
Well, it's the only place to go. We came here to learn, to grow, and evolve. We came all from infinite mind, but we also came with free will. And we can decide to heed the call like now. Life is screaming at everybody, hey, do I have your attention? You know, do you want to improve? Do you want to make the world better? Or do you want to blame it on somebody and feel picked upon? It's choice, choice, choice. And we get to choose the most important things in life by free will, how we look at everything, ourselves, other people, relationships, and we can always change that. So life is showing you and me and everybody how to think outside the box, but we individually and collectively choose to take that path or ignore it.
Gotcha. Tom,
Choice is so powerful.
yeah.
I know, like one of the questions just jumping out at me, just before you were struck, you said you had that council of 7. Did you see them when you had crossed over, or have you seen them since you've been back?
I only saw them physically, and they were as physical as I am, but of course nobody else saw them for just a second or two on February 7th, 1977, about 6:30 or something like that, whenever that incident happened. Police reports are all in the book, by the way. So this is not something I'm making up. They got a police report about it. Uh, So yeah, I saw them that one time. I felt them about 8 months later when they stopped time and said, "You had this experience because you," and that was the second most beautiful day of my life. I had to know why me. I had to know.
Hmm.
Too beautiful. What the hell did I deserve to do this? Which proved to me at the time that everybody has the potential of going there, but it ain't an accident. If
Yeah,
you want to learn, if you want to grow, if you want to learn to ski, you got to go up on the mountains with a pair of skis,
Hmm.
you
sure.
know.
How do you're in Texas, so you're kind of in the Bible Belt. How do you deal with folks that are coming from the, I'll call it the boxed religions?
Well,
And,
I live in Austin, Texas, and it's the one very liberal town in
Hmm.
Texas.
right.
The rest of Texas is run by, Ted Cruz and John Cornyn. Have you ever heard any bill that helps people that has John Cornyn's name on it or Ted Cruz? No. It's run by Greg Abbott and gangster tech Ken Paxton. A lot of these people in Texas, and I love the weather. My folks moved down here when I was 5 because my dad living in New Jersey didn't want to shovel snow and coal anymore. So yeah, but Austin is a very liberal, hip city, and all the governments here, but they
Yeah.
hate it. They hate it because Austin's so liberal. Well, go move to Lubbock. Get out of Harvard. Let us use all those big buildings you built.
Yeah.
So Texas is really kind of redneck and backwards, but
So when you interact with people, I mean, I assume you have, because almost everybody who's in this experience interacts with somebody who is in, I'll call it a boxed religion. You said you grew up Catholic. So how would you interact if you had to try to explain this near death experience or whatever and the revelations you got since to somebody who's only sat in the pew on Sundays and, that,
well, if someone came up and asked me or called me or wrote me or something, I would definitely share what I do. But I don't go out of my way to try to. Now, I do get on podcasts.
yeah,
So I'm definitely interested in spreading the message about us all being connected to infinite mind
right,
and there being a cord, a way to connect with it. That's to me, it's the most important thing I've ever known. It's the most important thing anybody can ever know.
right,
And certainly one of the most important tools we have as humans, because there's so much stuff we cannot change, but we can change our perception, our attitudes. We can grow, we can learn. And if we never went through a challenge or a curveball or fear, you'd never learn how to deal with that. And I went through so much fear in 1977. Nothing scares me anymore, really.
right.
It doesn't.
Totally get it.
If it kills me,
So
I'm in heaven. If it doesn't, I'm still learning something.
there you go. You can always come back. So try again. So you talked about getting some prophetic visions. Do you have anything for now in the next 10 or 20 years?
Have faith. We have to realize we can't change the whole world transition. We can't change the fact that we're moving into the age of Aquarius and it's kind of a sloppy, messy 100-year transition. We can't change the fact that there's so many people on this planet with guns and military, and we need it. We had to defend ourselves. But man, if we spent all that money on human resources, on food, on education, uh, but every country is, needless to say, a little paranoid about their neighbors. I lived in Europe during the 90s, and I thought that's one thing that's very interesting about Europe. They have fought each other so many times that they've decided to all be friends and okay, you guys speak a different language and wear funny hats, but we're all neighbors. And that's a major accomplishment. Another major accomplishment, at least up to this point, is that human beings, other than Japan, we have not done nuclear weapons. And considering how many we got and how many times we got the edge, I think that's a blessing. I tend to think we won't have a nuclear war, but that doesn't mean we won't have a lot of crappy, smaller skirmishes, maybe some small tactical or nuclear weapons. I hope not.
Yeah,
But I can't control the military or the human consciousness or only mine.
right.
And but once we improve our own consciousness and raise our own level and turn that light on inside, that light goes outside too. It's a
That's
win-win.
Tommy.
I have a question. When you had crossed over, you said you saw COVID. I've always been of the belief that COVID was a test of us for a spiritual reset. Was there any meaning attached to that as you saw that from the other side?
Well, I think everything is a test for spirituality. That was one. Yeah, I didn't recognize what I saw as COVID. I saw Earth getting covered in oil. And I thought, man, it's a big oil slick. It's going to happen. And when COVID came out, I was, oh, that's just the black death. That's just the black cycle. Uh, I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in coincidences. Why that disease came at that time? Probably a million reasons. Including the fact that we mRNA and whatever the vaccines, we've taken huge jumps in science.
Mm-hmm.
And I admire science. I was an electrical engineer. I have so much respect for science and research and knowledge as opposed to fear, stupidity, or conspiracies or crap. you know, People want to know the truth. Go seek it from people who know the truth, not from people who got crap to sell or promote. And there's plenty of it in this world. Deception, jive, conniving, screwing each other, taking advantage, you know, big war, small war. Such is human nature, but also part of human nature is to evolve personally. So you make it a better world for yourself and other people. It's a win-win both ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you were over there, were you given a message or a directive when you come back, things that they wanted you to do?
I don't necessarily know it's things they wanted me to do. I saw infinite mind, and when I came back in and jumped in my body, I went, wow, what a voyage. And I cannot deny what I felt and what I experienced and what I saw. And it was basically, especially 9 months later, when my guide said, you wanted to know this and you can use this, and that's why you got it, and go to town. And so not only am I eternally grateful, but yeah, I saw it, and I encourage other people, if you want to see, ask. You have to ask your guides. They know the cardinal rule, and that is they do not have the right to come in and just trample over your free will. But they can tap us on the shoulder, they can hint, they can put us through challenges in life, and they do. But I often believe, because no accidents or coincidences, when we go through a big challenge, a big change, everything's new. We face a whole new world. Where did this come from? What do I do now? I tend to believe that's the only way life can show to us or indicate what we can and should learn next. But it can't make us. They can only open the door. We have to go, okay, I see the challenge. And that's what we're all going through now. The whole world. It's just
Yeah.
colorful because it's not black and white. It's in every religion and dimension and politics. It's, at every level. But yeah, the world is evolving. Human consciousness is evolving. There's only one way for that to happen. Now, in 25, 50 years, is there going to be a 20 billion people or just 3 million trying to rebuild it? I don't know. Everything's possible, but we avoided some of the biggest challenges so far, and that gives me hope that we can avoid some of the worst instincts of humankind. Hope so.
You have any insight right now? They're talking about the quote age of disclosure, like the movie and all the ET scenarios. Any insights into that?
I, like a lot of people, I guess to some degree, I'm concerned with AI, but I can't do anything about it. I use Chat GPT. Uh, that's the depth of my AI. Uh, so yeah, there could be a lot of jobs, there could be a lot of displacement, but hell, we're going through a war now, and oil prices are going up, which affects everything. Moral of the story: no matter what it is, AI or the war or politics, we're going through these intense cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Pick a subject, pick a thing that affects humanity. It's heavy extremes. But again, when you or me or a system or a society or a person goes through some extreme, it can also be rebirth, a transformation, a revolution, a come to Jesus moment, a 180, a wow, now I finally see. That's what Pluto represents, the extremes and healing and transformation and rebirth. And the whole planet is going through Pluto right now, and regardless of what the other astrology is, because that's transformation. And so this is a healthy time. We get to learn if we want to, or we get to complain and get nowhere.
Yeah.
Choice.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go back to reading stones. If a person, besides reading your book, which I assume is going to help step by step somebody to do it, what's the kind of the short version of what kind of stones would you get if you want to try this, and how do you stay focused and that kind of thing? Is there?
Well, yeah, I don't know much about the mineralogy. I used to work at psychic fairs and they're selling stones. Oh, that's a something. Now I know a agate and I know a obsidian and crystal. Uh, but I just pick stones because I like the way they look. They're all different. They have some of them point, some of them are square. And when I drop them, I look at the way they're touching and pointing, if they're on each other, if they're pointing outside the circle, everything like that. If I lose a stone, I'll replace it for another one. And sometimes one cracks or something. In fact, I like my love stone. Where is it so much? It's a little moon. It
Yeah,
cracked, and I've super glued the thing back together with tweezers, and because I
yeah,
like that stone
yeah.
so
Okay.
much. Uh, so yeah, but when I lived in Europe from '93 to 2000, I was playing music all through Scandinavia. Uh, a lot of musicians and other people and club owners knew I gave readings, and sometimes they'd ask me, and I wouldn't have my stones with me. So I'd bring them up to my apartment above the club, and I'd have them just set stuff on a table, an earring, an ashtray, a trinket out of their purse. I'd go in the kitchen, make some tea, meditate for a moment, come back and look at what they laid out on this table in any, and be able to read from that.
Yeah,
And the only reason I know that works is I saw in 1977 you can read anything from anything if you allow yourself to believe that and allow yourself to practice it. But it's like anything, practice.
yeah.
I'm pretty good at doing this because I've been doing it for 45 years.
Right.
Uh, I'm pretty good lead guitar player. I did that for 45 years. I was never a good singer. But you speak of asking your guides. I asked my guides all during my early 20s and late 20s, help me find gigs. I was a good guitar player, but it's the band and the song and the singer because guitar players are you know, expendable.
Right.
And I felt very expendable. And I asked my guides, help me make a living. Because when I came back from my near death experience, I saw these third set of pictures I forgot to mention was about me. You know, playing music, playing piano. Hell, I didn't even hardly play piano then. So in 1980, I joined some country bands. I started dating this girl. She said, get off the road. You come back broke every time. Yep, sure do. Play with these big dance hall country bands. She just dated a guy who did, and he moved out of town, and then she dated me and got me into that circuit, and I started making good money playing these big dance halls in the 80s, just working Friday and Saturday night, and I practiced 12 hours a day, every day on piano. I started 33 going da 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 da.
Yeah.
And 4 years later, I talked my way into some piano bars, and I ain't a good singer, and I've only been playing 4 years, but it's all about what you can do. And I can talk. I grew up with six brothers. I became a very good entertainer. Even the other piano players started realizing, wow, we got to up our scale because old crappy Gary here can't sing, can't play very well, but he's selling drinks and everybody's laughing. He's got the audience. So it's all about what you can do. I became a solo artist after that. Rest of my, I never looked back at bands who didn't hire me. Screw it. I'm playing all over. And Buck stops here, and I got to do songs like "Killing Me Softly" with her song. Nobody let me do that in the bands.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Tommy, you got, as we get close to wrapping up here, Tommy, you got some questions to wrap up with?
Well, all I want to say is you and Terry have something in common because we would never let him sing either. So,
That's
no,
fine.
I find it really interesting. I guess from your experience, if someone was trying to develop these skills, you say practice, but what exactly should someone be doing if they want to develop their skill set from your
First
perspective?
thing, first things first, have the intention to grow and evolve because we can put that intention in our mind immediately. There
Mhm.
are 10 billion things we can't make happen or can't change, but we can always change our mind, our attitude. So look at yourself like, okay, I'm going to learn this. If you want to learn to go swim. First thing you do is decide to go do it. And the second thing is jump in the water. Because if you don't decide to jump in the water, you ain't gonna learn to swim. So it's follow through. And everything takes practice. Everything takes practice. So yeah, you can develop, whether it's reading stones or cards or looking at the universe or learning new methodologies. There's no limit, none, and this is the only thing about human beings that's unlimited. There's no limit to how much we can grow spiritually, psychically, mentally, emotionally, with love, compassion, creativity, good morals, good values, relationship with the universe, ourselves, other people. None, because those are all internal.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't take any calories except a little bit of sugar in your brain. You know? But that's the most empowering thing anybody does, because when you decide you're going to hit a home run, for example, and put the fear of the pitcher aside, you can't change the pitcher. You can't make him throw the ball here in your little square where you can hit it.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So how do you hit the ball? Well, you show up, you step up to the plate, you bring a big bat. Those are three practical things. And then the spiritual side, you decide, I'm going to knock that ball as far as I can, and you're going to hit more home runs. Attitude. You want to learn about your soul power? First of all, love yourself. Second of all, commit yourself to, I can learn this, I can grow. Just like if you want to learn to play golf, don't dream about it. Go take your club out and start swinging at some balls. Da-da!
Yep.
That's where
Yep.
you don't practice. It's great to have write a book about being a golfer or having a dream, but that's different than playing golf. So
Yeah.
practice. But first, before you practice, decide you're going to grow, decide you're going to evolve, decide you're going to become fearless because of all the crap you can't change. And if you decide that, then you start seeing the path to become that. If you decide you're going to swim, you start seeing the path. Oh, got to go to some water. Okay, da-da.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it's not rocket science. You do have to,
Hey, really?
yeah, you've got to have a desire to do it. You got to keep focused on it, and you got to practically engage it, and then
Oh,
it'll all come your way because the universe wants to support you in whatever you decide to do.
oh,
And
absolutely. And just like the Bible, ask and you shall receive.
yeah,
Knock at the door. It doesn't say you'll get everything or we'll always open the door and give you a box of candy,
yeah,
but it says the more you do that, the more it can happen. We don't get everything we ask for or work for, but the more we do and ask and think positive and ask our guide to help us, just like the home runs, you show up with a big bat and attitude, you're going to hit more.
yeah, absolutely.
So don't shortchange yourself, people, on your power. Just don't do it. Just start thinking big.
So, Gary, if people want to get your books, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, they're both on Amazon and Kindle.
Okay.
Lithomancy, The Psychic Art of Reading Stones, and A Second Eternity. They're on Amazon and Kindle, available in both versions. Uh, this book has a lot of pictures in it. It's kind of like a textbook. They're in black and white because you can't put inserts in a self-published book. It's either
Right.
all color or all, but there's a link in there on my website where you can see the pictures in color, just like this.
And tell
It's
people
got a
what your
bunch,
tell people
but
what your website is.
GaryWimmer.com, GaryWimmer.com. That's my main website. It's got links to my music, to my acting, to my writing, to my psychic ability. And I still write and do a lot of psychic work. I don't act anymore, and I'm not toting around heavy gear, listening to my crappy voice anymore.
I gotcha. So if people actually want to get a reading from you using lithomancy or whichever you choose, they could get you on the website. Is that the easiest
Yeah,
way?
best thing to do is email me.
Email you.
My phone, I have problems with my phone for some reason. It's conflict with Google Fiber landline, so I'll figure it out. But email me, gw@garywimmer.com. Real simple, GW like George Washington, but Gary Wimmer at GaryWimmer.com. Best way to get in touch with me.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, Gary, I appreciate you coming on today, and I think for this has been enlightening to get the the summary of this near-death experience and how the psychic leak have made your way through life, and a fascinating career with music and whatnot. And that's fascinating. So we really appreciate you coming on. And for all those who want your book, get on Amazon, check it out, Kindle, and get it downloaded, because I think you'll learn a lot. There's no question about it. This man has got decades of experience with us, and takes a real practical approach. So I think you'll all enjoy it. So for everybody here at the Metaphysical Mysteries, I want to thank you all for stopping by, and we will see you on the next episode. Later.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Tom. God bless you all.
Thank you, Gary.